Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. My guest today is Stephanie Mwangaza.
Mwangaza.
Okay, we got to say that 7 more times, but not now.
Okay.
And you're an acupuncturist.
Yes.
Your last name is Brown. So Stephanie
Mwangaza
Brown. And we're talking today about acupuncture and the benefits of acupuncture. Of course, it's an ancient Chinese medical practice, and we're seeing more and more of the medical community moving towards integrative medicine, meaning integrating those holistic practices with the Western medicine. And that's good news for you guys.
Absolutely. You know, it caught my attention when you talked about it being ancient Chinese, and it is definitely. They have taken it and developed it and preserved it, thank goodness. But acupuncture was practiced in Africa with porcupine needles, and there are some tapestry hieroglyphs on the walls of the pyramid, you know. So like most things that are ancient, there is like an even prehistory kind of use of it.
A lot of times when people think about acupuncture, we get caught up on the needles.
Oh yes, people get caught up on the needles, but the needles are not like the hypodermic needles that we are so used to. The needles are literally, the diameter is just a little bit larger than a strand of hair. They're very, very sharp. So you know, if you stick yourself, sometimes you don't even know because it was so sharp, or if you cut yourself with a sharp knife, you don't even know. And so they're very sharp and they're very, very small. So they don't make holes, and a lot of people, especially the people who are really, really scared, I'll be like, are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm like, you are late. I put that needle in and took it out already.
Wow.
So because they're small, we don't, you know, we might not even notice it. And in a lot of parts of the body, it'd be very difficult to notice it. On some of the more sensitive parts of the body where there's a lot of nerves, you may notice a little pinch, but it's a little pinch and it goes right away.
Nowadays, they're seeing the benefits of acupuncture for things like chronic pain. We're hearing a lot about chronic pain nowadays with the opioid crisis and things like that. How are you working towards helping people deal with chronic pain, adding acupuncture to that?
Yeah, I have been offered what I think is a fantastic opportunity. It's groundbreaking. Medicaid is collaborating with AMI, which is a medical integration service, and I believe it's Amerigroup. Medicaid patients are being allowed to use acupuncture for chronic pain. And I think a lot of it is because of the opioid crisis, because people are showing up in the emergency room, you know, too often. That's very expensive. And so they're trying to help people find a way to manage chronic kinds of pain situations without the drugs and to keep it on a more even keel. And so I am participating in that pilot. I'm very excited about it because acupuncture is wonderful for moving one's energy. And there's a Chinese adage that says, where there's free flow, there is no pain.
So how does that work? What is the connection with acupuncture and pain? How do you do that?
So just that same adage, free flow. So just if you think about the planet, like the climate, Earth, etc. If you have a stream and there's a lot of congestion, maybe twigs or rocks or something there, then the water can't flow well. And as a matter of fact, the water on one side will be excess, and on the other side, a lot of times, the stream will be deficient because it can't get through. Within us, a lot of things that are true in nature are true within us. The same thing is true, that if there's some type of congestion, some type of constriction, And that can be even emotional constriction that causes our nervous system to respond and our muscles to respond. So if there's some type of constriction, there's going to be pain. If there is like a hypersensitivity in the nervous system, there's going to be pain.
Well, how does it alleviate that pain?
By causing the chi or energy, by causing the blood to flow, to move. So I don't want to act like I know how acupuncture works, because there is no answer for that question yet. You know, there really isn't. They have some theories, and now with our scientific processes, we're more and more able to see that some of the ways that acupuncture works. So what we do know is that it works with the endorphins, it works with the nervous system and the blood, and even though it's not recognized in the Western world, it works with the chi or energy within the body. And by keeping all those things flowing and moving and supporting, like the endorphins in the nervous system, the pain goes away.
Does it go away on a permanent basis, or do you have to continue getting treatments on a regular basis?
So now that's a great question, because it really does depend. Let's say that someone is a chronic worrier, and when they worry, they've been worrying for the last 20 years, and when they worry, it constricts some blood vessels in their back, right? We can get that pain to move. However, if that person continues to worry the same way, what's going to happen? It's going to come back. It's got to come back. And so, to me, acupuncture is a very good way to teach people how to live their own life better and how to have a better quality of life. So when someone comes in the office, I'm really not into fixing that back pain as much as I want to understand how it got there and how much can the person do to alleviate it themselves. And then, because when I move it, people aren't going to just keep coming back, and they're feeling great. So you have to go through that process with them so that when you alleviate the pain, it is gone, because they're not thinking the same way about themselves or their family or their job, whatever, that they realize they have a freedom.
How do you blend herbs with this? Or should herbs be part of the acupuncture treatment?
Absolutely. The two work wonderfully together. So the intake process or the interview process is the same, whether someone's coming for acupuncture or coming for herbs. That's how closely they're intertwined. And I think of acupuncture as kind of the catalyst. You come in, you get an acupuncture treatment, it gets things moving. Then you give herbs to your client, and they now have a home treatment where they can keep things moving. And herbs are teachers too, because we're just a sack of chemicals, and herbs are just a kind of a sack of chemicals too. So when they start interacting, these two sets of chemicals can actually help us to think differently and see things differently without anybody saying anything. Our body teaches our mind in a way.
We're also seeing treatments or acupuncture treatments when it comes to addiction. Mm-hmm. How does that work? How can you help someone with an addiction issue using acupuncture?
Mm-hmm. So with addiction and with other mental health kinds of issues, again, a lot of them are about how we're thinking about ourselves. So having instruction, education is very important. Then also it's very important to move the chi, because there'll be chemical imbalances in the body.
As a result of the addiction, there's chemical imbalances.
As a result of the addiction, as a result of depression, as a result of anxiety, all of these things come, again, we're a sack of chemicals. So if the balances aren't correct, in a way our body is a very sophisticated computer that uses chemicals and electricity to run. And so if the balances aren't correct, then these things that we consider to be diseases arise. But in reality, it's kind of normal because that's the way the environment of the body is balanced at that point. So you can begin to shift that balance, and a lot of it's done by people's thinking and feeling. That's one of the ways to shift the balance. And then the herbs help to shift and maintain the balance, and acupuncture can also help. And then I am involved with an integrative psychiatrist who is working with people who really want to move off of the pharmaceutical drugs into a more natural-based kind of treatment. And so we're using the lifestyle and the herbs and the acupuncture. We're using things like Reiki, meditation, and mindfulness to help people to either eliminate or reduce their pharmaceuticals.
You just mentioned Reiki. Exactly what is Reiki?
So I think the best definition is just breaking down the word. So you have two words in Reiki, Rei, R-E-I, which means universal, and then Ki, which is the Japanese word for life force or energy. So basically, Reiki is universal life force. So it's a very generic kind of force that's all around us. Life force is all around us. We call it prana, energy, into, chi, and ki. There's so many words for it. Every culture has a word for it. In Reiki, you have a practitioner who's been attuned, and that energy flows through the practitioner into the client. So the beauty of it is that the client doesn't have to be concerned about receiving some type of energy from the practitioner, and they don't know what it is. And the practitioner doesn't have to worry about being depleted because this client needed so much energy. In reality, what's happening is a generic kind of unattached life force is flowing through to the client. So as the client gets a treatment, the practitioner gets a treatment.
What type of medical issues can Reiki deal with? What would your most common client, who would be your most common client?
So that is always such a difficult question because it kind of assumes like a Western kind of format in a way, because what we're really talking about is supporting the body to be at its best. The same with the acupuncture, and in a way also the herbs. You're supporting the body to rebalance itself, to harmonize itself, to be able to handle situations as well as possible. And what happens when the body balances is that healing occurs. So it really doesn't matter in a way what was wrong. Once the body balances, it's going to correct it. And again, there's a saying in the acupuncture field that says, same disease, different treatment. Different treatment, same disease. Which means that two different people can come in with a headache, for example, but it's caused by two different things. So you give them totally two different treatments. Whereas in Western medicine, you give them what? Oh, take some aspirin or something, right? And then conversely, if people come in with two different, someone may come in with a stomach ache and someone else with a headache, and you do the exact same treatment because it's the body that's being balanced and the body is out of balance the exact same way. It's just manifesting two different ways.
So does this involve touching, putting your hands on someone? You said you're transferring energy, or you're using prana. How does the practitioner use that prana? For example, in acupuncture, you use needles. Mm-hmm. What tools do you use in Reiki?
Your hands. So, which
Why
is beautiful.
The hands?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So, in the Reiki attunement, that is one of the areas that's activated. You may know that we have energy centers in the body, and there's two main energy centers in the hands. So during an attunement, those are activated along with some others. But I mean, you wouldn't want to have to use your belly or something, you know what I mean? So it's the most convenient. But so those are the tools, and you can place them on the person or you can place them right above the person. Don't necessarily have to touch them.
Okay, okay. And so what happens when you're putting your hands or placing your hands above or on that person?
All amazing things can start happening. I was working with some soldiers in a program, and they were coming back from Iraq. And, you know, war is something else, the toll that it takes on the body. I really tip my hat to the service people, because they come back with enough going on for 10 people. I mean, really, for 10 people. And so they would come in, and just to give you a couple of examples, one guy could not turn his head. That he could turn, he would have to look, you know, like this. He kind of had frozen neck. And so I did some Reiki, I did some acupuncture. That's the other thing nice about Reiki, you can add it to things. So I did some acupuncture on him, and then I added the Reiki just around his head and neck. And you could actually feel the energy building up between my hands, and then you could feel it just dissipate. And he was able to turn his head from that moment on. I mean, this took 3 minutes. It was amazing. And there's so stories like that can happen. I've worked on people, and I hesitate to say this because I don't know what the mechanism is or was, but on several occasions, people have come back from their oncologist and said they still had the operation, but they have said, my tumor shrank by 30%. My tumor's a lot smaller than it was. And the only thing they were doing, I mean, maybe there was something else, but the only thing they were doing that we could put our finger on was the Reiki.
With the Reiki, is there a follow-up? Because we talked about the follow-up to acupuncture being herbs. Mm-hmm. Is there a follow-up to the Reiki?
Other than, you know, lifestyle, you know, and a person's own lifestyle, like if they're meditating, if they're changing their diet, if they're exercising, you know, that's really the primary follow-up to any natural modality, is to like be taking excellent care of yourself, because all of the alternative modalities are very gentle. They're not going to force the system to do anything. That's why there's usually very few side effects. So I can't really say, other than, you know, good lifestyle, that for even the acupuncture, the herbs, the Reiki, that's the best follow-up.
And who have been the people coming to you with the Reiki? You just mentioned service people. Mm-hmm. With the Reiki, are we talking about people maybe with infertility issues, people maybe with sinus issues? What are some of the most common issues that would lead someone to say, you know, I'm going to try that Reiki stuff?
So I'll tell you, Reiki's, again, it's subtle. So someone would have to, if they wanted to come for something really very physical and tangible, I would personally be prepared to come more than 1 or 2 times. That would be my commitment. This is how I'm going to heal myself, and I'm going to follow the prescription, if you will, that is presented. Because you can't really predict when you're going to get a resolution. The thing that is probably the easiest, if you will, to work with is things like grief, things that are going to dissipate anyway. It can really help someone to work through that very quickly, you know, or headaches. But more chronic things take more attention.
Okay. You've also been working with something called facial rejuvenation.
Yes.
What is that for? What is that? Helps your face look more alive, more
yes,
young?
It does.
Everybody wants to look youthful.
Yes.
So how does that work?
Yes. So when I first, you know, when first I was practicing, I thought about, they call it cosmetic acupuncture or facial rejuvenation acupuncture. I kind of poo-pooed it. Because it was, you know, I wanted to really do something substantive to move chi in the body to heal, you know. And then I guess a year or so again, I looked in the mirror and I wasn't really happy with what I was seeing when I looked in the mirror. And so I said, I think I'm going to go take that facial rejuvenation acupuncture, which I did. And I met a colleague there, and we decided to start working on one another. I am amazed, first of all, at what, and again, it's a consistent kind of process. It's not like a one-time kind of thing, but I'm amazed at the difference in just the liveliness of my skin, of my eyes, things of the sagging and things that I really didn't care for are slowly but surely changing. They're slowly changing.
What happens to the face as we age?
So the face the muscles begin to lose their tone, and so the face begins to sag. The skin tone, because the circulation isn't as good, the skin tone tends to become more uneven, or you may have rough patches or breakouts and that kind of thing. You'll notice the eyes especially will be sagging, are less bright. A lot of times the eyes are less bright. We have wrinkles and crow's feet and all that kind of thing. So those are the things that acupuncture can address. And what's beautiful about it is that it kind of winds back time rather than changing how you look to the point, if you like with a facelift kind of thing, where you start looking like a, friend of mine says you look like a rat in a wind tunnel. And I know we've all seen those tragedies where the person has gotten it done too many times. But what I didn't know was that once you begin that process, the facelift process, you have to keep doing it.
And it doesn't look natural.
No.
It really looks like the face starts looking plastic. Mm-hmm. Even to the point where you see the people, they don't even really, they look like they're, themselves. Yeah, and when they talk, it's just like it just looks like they just took the skin and pulled it to the back of their skull. It doesn't look natural.
Right.
But there are ways that you can, what you're saying is there are ways that you can kind of stop the clock or kind of wind the clock back a little bit, but in a more natural way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the biggest gift that I got from the facial rejuvenation process, the training and experiencing it myself and working with other people, is that it actually not only works with the face, but it works with the brain as well. You're bringing circulation, you're bringing qi to the brain. And again, as we get older, we dry out. That's part of the reason why the muscles aren't as toned, etc. And so the brain dries out as well. So just that process of introducing they're very small, very painless kinds of pins into the face also creates that whole circulation in the upper part of the body. And so people notice like their vision changing, improving, sinus problems reducing, and other things feeling better.
So you have to do this over a course of weeks, a course of months? How does that work?
Yeah, so you usually will do it once a week for 6 to 10 weeks. And that kind of gives you a foundation. Then you'll move to like every other week. Then after you've been doing it for a while and the things that were a concern have kind of cleared, then you can do it once a month. So unlike a facelift, which is like a whole lot of money, and then you don't have to do it for 5 years, acupuncture, you pay a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and you kind of constantly take care of yourself. And the other thing I'd like to mention is that it's not just needles in the face. So I at least read pulses and see what's going on with the person. Then I'll do a body treatment for that person that addresses what's going on for them on that particular period in time. There's other needles which are known to kind of stimulate qi and stimulate blood flow in general. So you get a full body treatment, you get an ear treatment, plus you get the face treatment.
How were insurance companies when it comes to helping to pay for things like acupuncture?
So they're coming around slowly but surely. The big name acupuncturists, insurance companies cover it depending on your policy. And that's a little bit tricky because I've had many people come in and they say, oh yeah, I have an acupuncture benefit on my policy. And then I call and it's acupuncture if you're using it for surgical anesthesia.
Oh. So in wrapping up our discussion, if people are considering doing the acupuncture, let's talk about how nowadays we're really trying to blend it with traditional medicine, and the combination of the two can be very powerful.
Powerful, powerful. So as I mentioned, the acupuncture is basically coming from the viewpoint of, okay, body, mind, emotions, let's get you balanced. Let's make everything as strong as possible. Let's work with what you're working with and do the best we can with it. And then the Western medicine is a little more focused. It's kind of zoning in on various areas and making impacts. But now you're making an impact in a biological unit that has shored itself up and is bringing its best to you. So now you need less pharmaceutical intervention, and you'll see things move faster and heal faster. It's being documented. The NIH, is wonderful from the point of view of doing studies. I'm not a great proponent of studies, but it's helpful when you want to really determine, these kind of combinations.
Very good, very good. And you left me with some material talking about the facial rejuvenation. We'll give the information at the end of the program, so if people are interested in contacting you, they'll be able to contact you. But you're doing some great work out there.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It's a blessing.
It is absolutely a blessing that now we're seeing changes where it can be used in so many different areas. It's no longer this considered like this voodoo stuff.
Yeah. Right.
That people, as it was back in the day, especially in the area of moving towards helping people with addiction issues. As you know, that is a major crisis.
It is a major crisis
in this country. So I just want to thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. This is a great service.
Thank you, thank you. Stephanie, one Stephanie to the
to the other.
Yes. Mwangaza Brown.
Yes.
And you're an acupuncturist. We've been talking about acupuncture. We've been talking about herbal medicine, and just lifestyle changes that you can make to be the best you can be.
That's right.
You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day.